Welcome to Fantasy Booking Warfare! One half of our semi-final bracket was solidified as Luke Owen and his cavalcade of craziness conquered Dan Layton in the trial of Triple H tributes, securing his spot opposite Ollie Davis in the second round. But now, there is another semi-final matchup to fill, and we will find out who will be the first man to punch his ticket to the penultimate round as Broken Sullivan and Brother Tempest book the retirement of the Hardy Boys.
I'm Dave Bradshaw, and for the past 15 years, I have been a play-by-play commentator in British and European wrestling.
Off the top, missile drop kick. Can he get it? Yes, he can. He's the champion of the world.
I am the master of the half crab, the current reigning undisputed British heavyweight champion, Michael Oku, and who better to tell you how bad things are booked than me?
I'm Nina Samuels, star of The Nina Samuels Show, and here on Wrestle Talk, because of course, Wrestle Talk needs more Nina.
Time for another episode of Fantasy Booking Warfare, and today we're looking at the Hardy Boys' retirement. First up to try and book this is Tempest.
Let me set the scene. Matt Hardy is in the firm against his will, just like in real life, but rather than befriending and duping Ethan Page, Matt is being used as the firm's servant, carrying their to the ring, handling their affairs, driving everyone to the airport, losing sleep, pushed ever closer to the edge. Finally, his lack of sleep culminates with Matt accidentally costing Ethan a match with Orange Cassidy for the international title. The following week, Ethan declares Matt has become a liability. The firm turn on Matt, beating him down until the lights go out. When they come back up, Matt is standing back to back with Jeff Hardy, both dressed in their Broken Universe gear. Matt simply says, "Brother Nero," as the crowd join in. "I knew you'd come." They clear the ring to a chorus of delete chants, and the story begins with the Broken Hardys' return. The following week, the Hardys come out to Obsolete, and Matt announces that for months he has been surrounded by demons. Demons making him do bad things, demons that must be exorcised, demons that must be deleted. Alongside Brother Nero and Brother Zay, he will delete the firm. At Double or Nothing's buy-in, the Hardys battle the firm at the Hardy compound. Stokely Hathaway, Ethan Page, and the Guns are greeted by Senior Benjamin, who checks them off a guest list before they scare him off. Elsewhere, Big Bill and Lee Moriarty are shown breaking down Matt's back door, and Rebby Sky is tripping a security system. Think Matt Hardy's drone holograms meets Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. Meanwhile, the Hardys greet the rest of the firm outside and brawl. Amongst Roman candles and assorted silliness, they fight over to the Lake of Reincarnation, where Matt and Jeff are thrown in, re-emerging as 90s Matt Hardy and Willow. They look at each other, shake their heads, and jump back in. This time returning as V1 Matt Hardy and Itchweed. Stokely and Ethan watch bewildered until they are thrown into the lake by Shannon Moore, emerging as Karate Man with Stokely Hathaway unchanged. Ethan asks who he is, and Stokely replies, Chuck Taylor. The confusion continues until the Guns throw Shannon into the lake to be caught by the Hardys, Ethan, and Stokely. Everyone resurfaces in their normal state except Shannon, who emerges as the reject who Matt pushes back in. Big Bill and Lee Moriarty escape the Hardy House of Nightmares, chased out by Matt's many small children. They reunite with the rest of the firm, and Brother Zay appears with his sex cry, does a crossbody onto the pile, and the Hardys drag Ethan to the ring to be beaten and pinned. The firm deleted. After a couple weeks, the Hardys declare on Dynamite that they have successfully deleted the demons of the firm, and that with one chapter ended, the final chapter begins. They are interrupted by FTR and CM Punk. Matt immediately exclaims, "Wonderful! Just the team we wanted to see. The R of the FT, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the final step in the culmination of our expedition of gold." Dax tells Matt to shut it, that they will never turn down a challenge, especially from one of the best tag teams of all time, but all this broken crap is disgrace to tag team wrestling. Jeff says that the demons surrounding them have finally shown their face, at which point Punk steps forward to cut him off, saying, "You'd know all about demons, wouldn't you, Jeff? I came out here just to back up my guys, but I just can't keep my lunch down anymore listening to you two, of all people, talk about demons." Everyone gets close, but there's no brawl, setting up a four-way tag match for Forbidden Door. FTR versus the Hardys versus Bishimon versus Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo Takagi. In what I can only imagine would be a a stellar match, the Hardys managed to win and capture the tag titles, pinning Yoshihashi. After the match, it's announced that Jeff will compete in the Owen Hart Cup, facing Jay Lethal in the first round. This match takes place the following week at Fyter Fest. Jeff and Karen Jarrett and Sonjay Dutt wear demon masks, interfering on Lethal's behalf, unmasking to do the Scott Hall spooky fingers, and mocking Jeff with delete chants. The lights go out and come back up as Matt and Brother Zay have appeared, fending off the cronies and allowing Jeff to advance. CM Punk has also advanced to the second round, beating Kojima like in real life at Forbidden Door. Punk, mic in hand, appears, and he says, "Jeff, week in and week out, all I hear is you talk about demons. Ooh, demons here, demons there, delete, 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 when you should be worried about the demons inside your head. I told the world what you were, and you have spent the last 14 years proving me right. Everybody booed me then, but the truth just became more and more uncomfortable, didn't it? Stop me when I'm telling lies. You want to talk about demons? I'm your demon, Jeff, because I'm straight edge, and straight edge means I've always been better than you." During a video package for the match, Jeff as Brother Nero says, "You were right, Punk. You were the true demon, because you live your life with spite and judgment. You've been that way since long before I found Brother Nero's vessel, and your demons will always fester. When I win the Owen Hart Cup, my demons will be put to rest, while you and your demons will simply fade away and be classified as obsolete." In the main event of Fight for the Fallen, Punk beats Hardy when his anger gets the better of him. He has Punk seemingly beat after a twist of fate and a swanton, but chooses to hit a second swanton bomb as Punk gets his knees up and hits a GTS for the win. Despite a standing ovation and Matt and Brother Zay tending to him, Jeff is angry and storms off. On the following Rampage, the Young Bucks cut a similar promo to real life, announcing that they are re-entering the tag division and challenge the Hardys to a tag match on the following Dynamite. During that match, while the referee is distracted, FTR attack the Hardys, and later, during a ref bump, the Young Bucks. As the ref comes to, all three teams are fighting and the match is called off. The Hardys versus FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW tag titles is set for All Out. In this match, the Hardys lose the tag titles to the Young Bucks, and the next week on Dynamite, Matt and Jeff are having a heart-to-heart at the Hardy compound. Matt says, "My demons are you, Brother Nero. Our time with these vessels is nearly over, and your demons are going to destroy the final moments of House Hardy. We need to exorcise these demons once and for all." At this moment, the doorbell rings, and on the porch is a VHS tape. Amidst black and white body bags with the names Matt and Jeff, a voice says, "We hate to see you like this. Come to Dynamite next week, but come whole. Bury the past," as the camera gets covered in dirt. The following Dynamite, Broken Matt announces, "Creatures of the night, welcome for one night only, Jeff Hardy." As Jeff enters, his music is cut off by the music of Darby Allin. Darby gets in the ring and says, "I just can't let the Hardy Boys go out like this. You guys are one of the greatest tag teams of all time. You've inspired a generation of wrestlers to jump off ladders, live in the moment, beat to their own drum, and I'll be damned if the last memories we have of you two are you self-destructing. So I made a call." The lights go out and Sting's music echoes. Mic in hand, Sting walks right up to Jeff and says, "Jeff, I've been watching you and your brother for the last few months, and yeah, I've been entertained. You threw that worm Stokely Hathaway in a lake. Who doesn't love that? But I've been watching you spiral, and I've seen it before. I've seen it in you before. But I know you've done your conquering. You should be commended for the work you've done. But the work's not done, is it? If it was, I wouldn't be out here trying to pull your head out of your ass. You will not be defined by your past, Jeff. The world got to see your lowest moment live and in color as you stood across the ring from me once upon a time. But when these people think of Jeff Hardy and Sting, they won't think of Victory Road. They'll think of Grand Slam. You and Matt, me and Darby. You get a chance to rewrite our history, Jeff. Next week, it's showtime. The next week at Arthur Ashe, the Hardys go toe-to-toe with Sting and Darby. They go 15 minutes, kicking out of finishers. Sting beats his chest, Jeff hits his pose, and they come face-to-face again, the crowd going wild. Darby runs between them, taking Matt out with his suicide dive, leaving Jeff to fight off a 2-on-1 assault valiantly, but after missing a swanton on Darby, he stands up into the Scorpion Death Drop and a coffin drop for the finish. They get a standing ovation as Sting and Jeff stare stare each other down. Sting raises Jeff's hand and they hug. In the weeks following, we get vignettes from the Hardy compound as Jeff feels at peace, playing with his daughters, and Matt is working like a madman, building things, sending Senior Benjamin on errands. Matt raves, saying, "We must continue our preparations for war, Brother Nero. The demons that still haunt us must be driven from the universe. I thought these demons had taken the shape of the firm, the R of the FT, the Bucks of youth, even the past. Now I see the true demons are ourselves, and we must be deleted." Next week on the anniversary of Dynamite, we will complete the demonic deletion. The following week on Dynamite, the Hardys step out of Matt's house, and out of the darkness step the demonic forms of themselves, gray, with piercing red eyes, like Nega Scott from Scott Pilgrim. But unlike Nega Scott, these demons will not be deterred with plans of brunch. Obviously, this would require loads of special effects, maybe more than AEW could manage, but hey, this is a fantasy booking. Darby and Sting assist the Hardys in vanquishing their nega selves. The next week on Dynamite, Matt and Jeff Hardy stand in the ring, no longer broken, as Jeff says, "It's been a hell of a ride, y'all. We stand here healthier than we've ever been, happier than we've ever been, completed our expedition of gold, and now finally, it's time for the Hardys to say goodbye." Matt says, "This is not a sad moment. We leave nothing but joy in this ring." The music of Christian Cage interrupts. Christian comes out and says, "You two have been parading around for a month or so talking about burying the past. I think the past should be celebrated. Hell, guys, you're not dead, crippled, or crazier than usual, so why don't we postpone this goodbye until Full Gear, where the four of us can go out together." The crowd erupts as the lights go out, and Metalingus plays as Adam Copeland walks onto the stage. He says, "Boys, I've been blessed to have a second chance to say goodbye, and there's no other way I'd like to say it than getting in the ring with you all one last time." As the crowd cheers, a New York voice comes over the speakers saying, "Well, don't you forget about us," as from the stairs comes Bubba Ray and Devon, the Dudleys, saying, "It's hard not to be romantic about wrestling, isn't it, boys? Here we are, the three teams that influenced a generation, one last time for all of us, at Full Gear, the Hardys versus the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian. Sue me." At Full Gear, the three teams wrestle one final match. Edge and Christian get the lion's share of the work, eventually culminating in Edge spearing Jeff Hardy to get the win, because Edge and Christian always win these matches. The final stamp to the careers of the three greatest tag teams of the Attitude Era, and an explosive final match in the retirement of the Hardys.
Okay, wow, I was worried at the beginning, well, throughout there, that there wasn't going to be Edge and Christian, and then we not only got Edge and Christian, but we got the Dudleys. So I'm breathing a huge sigh of relief. There was lots of callbacks, lots to go through. Yeah. What do you guys think?
A dream to see the three teams back together again. I love the idea of the culmination of that match. There's nothing quite like that Metalingus pop. Callbacks to, like, you know, the final deletion, stuff like that as well.
If you think about the logistics of physical limitations, I think he did a really good job into playing into all these small things before building up to the thing that's made them most famous to end things up.
There is that part of me, just as a fan, who wants that last match to be TLC.
That's
right?
yes,
but
yeah.
I can understand why, probably given the age of everyone. But it's fantasy booking.
So many times when there's a retirement match, I feel like you can easily tell who's going to win. So it's harder to, you know, buy into false finishes. I know, joke that Edge and Christian always win those. Yeah. But it does give you that element of you'll be able to buy into things a lot more in the match, because it's not just a foregone conclusion who's going to win. The Sting callback as well, because, you know, obviously, like back in TNA, it was such a dark moment for Jeff Hardy, and the idea of that sort of retribution and redemption on the way back.
That's Punk as well, there's like...
It does a very good job of, sort of tying up loose ends with Jeff. Does it do it at the disservice of Matt?
Very, very good point.
Very good point.
And maybe if the broken stuff is more to do with Matt, because that really was his
that
creation.
Was his baby.
Also, there's a major omission. Where's Gangrel?
For sure, he's
Michael Hayes. If we put fantasy, I mean, I could start getting.
Okay, we don't have to put everyone.
No, we have to.
No, we don't. I think so. This is where we differ. Again, fan service plus the best ending.
Yeah.
I think it's a well-told way to do it. I mean, that's the maybe question. Where's Lita?
Oh, that's
very
big
true.
Maybe if we do get involved.
That's a real big question.
Yeah.
Overall, though, we're pretty pleased with, I think, with how that built.
Yeah, I think it's got a good balance between, like, realism and then the big nostalgia pop at the end. It's the sort of thing where, like, it seems wild, but could actually
could
happen.
Yeah.
That's what I thought while watching it, while listening to it. I was like, oh man.
That was Tempest's attempt at booking the Hardys' retirement. Let's see if Sullivan can match him.
The Hardy Boys, the sturdy lads, the toughy fellas. We've seen them jump off high things, climb up ladders to make them famous, and also Matt did some fun stuff too. But how should they retire? Well, let's start at Full Gear this year, where we'll have the Hardy Boys face off against Tempest's favourite tag team, the Ass Boys, the Bum Men, the Backside Brothers. The Hardys are in full control, but disaster strikes when Jeff, attempting to save Matt from a pin using a high-flying maneuver, accidentally hits Matt as Austin Gunn has managed to move out of the way while Jeff is mid-flight. Colton Gunn pushes Jeff out of the ring and Austin swoops in again to cover Matt for the 1, 2, 3. Matt is furious with Jeff for attempting something so risky when he could have stopped the pin with something much simpler, and Jeff is furious with Matt for letting the team down by getting pinned. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. A quick side note, the Gunts will now be known as the As Boys after this victory. I don't want this to happen, but I know this will piss off Tempest. But no matter, because the Hardys are moving on to face the Young Bucks. Brothers versus brothers, again! This match is once again a rematch of their famous Ring of Honor feud, and it's going to be a barnstormer. Jeff and Matt are going to give it their all against the much more spry Bucks. Jeff has agreed to stop with the high-risk stuff and instead use his years of experience to defeat the younger foes. The Bucks are super kicking like crazy and seem to be slowly getting the upper hand on the Hardys. But just as they're about to go for the Meltzer driver on Matt, Jeff hops onto the top rope to stop Nick Jackson. Can you tell that I'm just using as many buzzwords that I can remember as possible? He thinks about doing a crazy maneuver that would take them both out, but takes too long, and Nick pushes him off the top rope onto the referee. With the referee down, Matt Hardy takes this opportunity and does a low blow on Matt Jackson and pushes Nick to the outside. He performs the twist of fate on Matt Jackson and covers him, earning the Hardy Boys a controversial victory. We see more backstage drama over the next few weeks between Matt and Jeff, with Jeff saying that they should honor their legacy and fight in the way they always have, and Matt arguing that they should fight to win. We can't win that way anymore. We're old, we're tired, we're battered and bruised. When will you realize that we can't get away with being reckless with our lives, that we can't just throw it all away for the next adrenaline hit? This very pointed remark leaves Jeff stunned. We move through the next few months with the Hardys fighting in Matt's style, brutish, cheating combat as they work their way through the tag division. Matt is the only one on promos, while Jeff is left as a shadow of his former self. Matt says, "Look at my brother. He's ashamed of the man he became, but he knows that I know what's best for him and what he has always needed, guidance. I am Jeff's guiding light, and even though that this should be our swan song, our last dance, we have dominated the AEW tag division, and now there's only one opponent left, FTR. The match is set up. FTR, the AEW Tag Team Champions, are now set to face the Hardy Boys at AEW Revolution. FTR says very sincerely that this isn't the Hardy Boys they want to face. This isn't the team they had dreamt of defeating when growing up. That the Hardy Boys are a shadow of their former selves, and they should be ashamed of what they've become. Matt responds, "You know who should be ashamed? The entire AEW Tag Team division. We've run roughshod over this company for the last few months, and no one has been able to stop us. You're the last ones left, and once we crush you, we'll be AEW Tag Team Champions, and we'll finally have shown the world we still got it, we still got it, we still got it." Jeff tries to join in with the chant, but can't help but show his disappointment with his brother. FTR go face to face with the Hardys and then finally turn their back on them before Matt takes out Dax from behind. Jeff pauses, seeing that this beatdown is unnecessary and cruel. But as Cash is coming to save Dax, Jeff jumps in and starts beating Cash down too. They annihilate FTR. They bring out all the weapons, tables, ladders, chairs. Matt leads proceedings while Jeff does his bidding. Eventually, Matt sets both Dax and Cash on some tables and orders Jeff to do a swanton bomb off the top of a ladder. Jeff is reticent, but slowly climbs the ladder. He looks down, thinking of all the times he put his body on the line for what he believes in, and now questions if he should do it for his brother. He jumps and crashes through the tables and FTR with him. Matt looks over the carnage and laughs in the way that broken Matt Hardy used to. So we're at Revolution. and the Hardys are pumped. FTR, meanwhile, are still injured from their beatdown from the previous Dynamite. They're bandaged up, and you can see from the early part of the match that they're not fighting fit. They struggle through the match as Matt and Jeff isolate Cash Wheeler as much as possible while taking every opportunity to take Dax out of the equation as well. Cash starts fighting back, however, and manages to throw Matt into the corner, only for Matt to collide with the referee. With the referee down, Matt starts beating Cash again, while ordering Jeff to go and get the titles. Jeff dutifully does so, and slides one of the belts to Matt, holding on to the other. Matt hits Cash with the belt, and then sets up for a twist of fate on Cash onto the belt. As he does this, mocking Cash, Dax goes up to Jeff and looks at him and tells him to remember who he is. Jeff looks down at the belt and back at Matt while he performs the twist of fate on Cash. As Matt lets out one last laugh, Jeff rushes into the ring and faces off with Matt. Jeff and Matt glare at each other. Matt screams at Jeff, asking him, "What do you think you're doing? We're gonna win, Jeff. We got the titles now. We can do this one last time together." Jeff simply shakes his head, looks down at the title, and cracks it over Matt's head. Matt is stunned on the floor. Jeff hops on the top rope and does a swanton bomb onto Matt and pulls Cash onto the prone Matt Hardy. Jeff leaves the ring as the referee rouses himself enough to count to the 1, 2, 3. And FTR retain the championships. The next week on Dynamite, Matt is looking for Jeff all over, wearing a big bandage on his head from where Jeff hit him with the title. The whole show is built around Matt as he wants him at ringside as he's facing Ricky Starks in the main event. Matt seems to be acting as if there's no problem between them, and everyone is quite confused by this. Having not found his brother, Matt and Ricky face off against each other, and Matt tries cheating yet again, this time pulling on Ricky's trunks as he goes for the pin. But as the referee is about to count to 3, Jeff's music hits. Matt is so shocked that he breaks the pin and looks up the ramp to see Jeff at the top of the ramp. Matt is so happy to see his brother, but Starks uses this distraction to roll up Matt for a sneaky pin. Matt, over the next few weeks, is still trying to reunite with his brother, while Jeff is continually stopping him from cheating through distractions. Eventually, Matt faces off against Christian Cage in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Christian has been systematically destroyed by Matt, and he is a bloody and beaten mess. But suddenly, we hear Edge's music. Yes, Edge and Christian are reunited. I want it to happen. I want it to happen so much. So I'm putting it in this. Even if it doesn't happen, that's fine, because I just want it to happen. Whoop, boop, 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 boop. I love Edge and Christian. They were my favorite tag team as a child. So Edge comes in with a chair and he starts beating Matt down with the chair. Fucking hell, Sullivan. So Edge comes in with the chair and starts beating Matt down and sets him up for a concerto before Jeff's music hits and he runs down to save his brother. Jeff chases Edge out of the arena while Matt picks up the win against Christian Cage. Jeff turns to Matt. He grabs a mic and says, "Listen, you were right about me. I was a up. I took too many risks in the ring. I took too many risks outside it too. But I need you to know that you're better than the way you've been behaving over the last few months. I want one last chance to be your partner. I want one last chance to see you at your best. See you be the wrestler that I know you can be. I love you, Matt. And I've let you down so many times, and every time you pick me back up, and now it's time that I pick you up and show you just how good you are. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. You're the man I've always looked up to. I don't think I've told you that enough, but it's true. Please, Matt, be my brother. Do this for me. Do this for our family. Do it for yourself." Matt looks at Jeff. A tear rolls down his face, and he looks around the stadium and takes in the noise of the crowd, and finally hugs his brother. They are reunited as equals. As we build up to AEW Double or Nothing, we see Jeff and Matt reconciling together. They talk through how they've managed to reunite since the match against Christian Cage and how they're stronger now than ever before. At this point, Edge and Christian come out and say that they've got some unfinished business with them from 20 years ago. The Hardy Boys challenge them to a match at Double or Nothing, and Edge and Christian accept. The two are about to engage in a brawl after some cutting words about their careers before the Dudley Boys come out. "Yeah, that's right, the Dudley Boys are coming back. I don't care that they've been retired for years. I do what I want. This is my fantasy booking and I'm bringing them back. They may well be really not in any shape to wrestle, but they're going to do one last match for me because I'm going to offer them $1 billion. That's the amount that I imagine Tony Khan would pay them." So, for one last match, the Dudleys are back, and there's only one way they want to go out. TLC. They are ready to have one last battle for all the ages with their old foes in a match that made them legends. The Hardys accept, as do Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys throw in one last condition. Only the winning team can carry on wrestling, and the other two teams losing have to retire. The three teams are left in a Mexican standoff, looking at one another until it finally breaks out into a brawl, with all teams left devastated by one another. And Double or Nothing 2024. To add spice to this match, we'll also say that at some point, Edge and Christian have somehow picked up the AEW Tag Team Championships. I didn't put it in the writing of it, but let's say that they do. It's just nice to have the titles above the ring. If you don't have that in a TLC match, it's just not as good, is it? So at first, the match starts off cagey. Unlike 20 years ago, these are no longer the young men who are willing to break their bodies in half, all in the name of entertaining the masses. They're more measured, with a better grasp of what keeps a match compelling and safe. But we still see the old favourites. Edge and Christian doing a concerto, the Dudleys put many people through tables, and the Hardys, well, the Hardys do love their ladders. But it's Christian who's climbing the ladder in the middle of the ring while everyone is recovering on the outside. But he is stopped by the desperate hand of Jeff Hardy, who keeps him from getting to the top. He pulls Christian down and beats him to the ground and starts to climb the ladder himself. It's at this point that Matt starts setting up some tables in the ring and drags Christian onto it. He then also grabs Edge and the Dudley, so all four men are lying on the tables, being held down by Matt. He calls Jeff to jump down on them, but Jeff looks at the titles dangling above. Matt shouts, "Jeff, forget the titles, we can win them later, but we need to do this." Some of the other competitors on the tables start to move a bit too much, so Matt lays down on them, and while they do, screams, "Do it now, Jeff, do it now!" Jeff takes a leap of faith and crashes through all the other competitors. He's done it. Yes, he's largely out of the rest of the match, but he's done it. In the end, it's Edge who manages to pick up the victory, but that's not the point. The real victors are the Hardy Boys, as they've proven just how much they love each other. The six men hug in the middle of the ring and throw their hands up in celebration, as they're all united by the hell that they put each other through. And the Hardy Boys are now forever reconciled, with both on a better path.
I love you guys. Well, first of all, Sullivan is a master storyteller.
He is a very good storyteller.
When they hug, and finally they accept each other as brothers.
Yeah.
I was almost wiping a tear. Is it as good of a story as the one that Tempest put together?
It seemed like there were lots of different layers leading to a fallout, but then Jeff came running back to Matt quite quickly. Potential bit of rushing there.
Because didn't that happen at the same time that Edge debuted in AEW, and then at the same time, then Jeff and Matt have a nice emotional thing. That's spread.
It's
spread
too,
that out.
yeah, it's
the news
too
story
much.
for the week is Edge coming back. The verbiage, you're the one picking me up, and I'm going to pick you up. That's very well done.
Tempest's one had more callbacks. As in, it had stuff with Punk and Jeff. It had the Sting stuff, historic parallels in Tempest's. But like that, it's almost like Sullivan was telling a new story, in that it was like a new version of Descent between Matt and Jeff that we hadn't really seen before.
Yes,
rather
so
than a trip down memory lane. For example, Sullivan doesn't have really anything of the broken Matt stuff, certainly not compared to what Tempest had.
I think everybody knows the Hardys came back to their old music from the 2000s. That's what people.
That's what want. That's
more
what
than
want.
anything.
Yeah.
That's it.
How easy is it to do a callback and make it as good as it was originally? And we've seen it before when certain callbacks have been done where Final Unleashed everything grew the way that it did. It was so big and so popular because it was organic in that moment, in that specific era of time. Is it better to leave it as that so people who love that era can remember that era the way that it was? It's like I don't think there's a right answer. I think it's just down to the individual and down to the circumstances.
Do we have to have Edge and Christian win every TLC match between these three ever?
Listen.
Part of what I want, if I want closure as a fan from like 2000, that one, was it SummerSlam 2000, the first TLC, where it was in like North Carolina and the Hardys were at the height of their popularity and Edge and Christian still won. That still bothers me. And I want that corrected. I don't know, I just want a Hardys win.
Listen,
I just want a Hardys
the
win.
two bookers,
That's like the reverse of how wrestling retirements normally go. Normally you say you're retiring and then come back, not the other way around.
It's clear by both fantasy booking that the only answer is the triple threat tag. If you can do it, that is the only way it can end.
Last week, Sullivan did go TLC, not just regular tag.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
which was
something to
something
note.
that we said.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm impressed because I thought Tempest had done a very good job there, and I thought Sullivan was going to have a hell of a task to even get close to what Tempest's done, but he's done something different, similar ending, but different way of getting there.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be pretty close.
It is. Like, I'm still genuinely torn as to who I'm going with.
Maybe we'll
Like
level
we
with
have
them.
some others.
We'll tell them that we're pretty
Yeah.
down the middle on this.
It's up to them to sway us.
So it's up to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what they can say when they join us can really influence
Yeah. Okay.
how we vote.
Guys, shall we, let's bring them in.
Yes.
We can hear what they have to say. Tempest and Sullivan have both joined us. Thank you guys for taking the time to book the Hardys retirement. And we've decided we're going to approach this differently to how we've approached some of the other episodes. Unlike in some other cases, which will remain unnamed, neither of these were disasters.
Tempest, we did it!
To the extent that they're both pretty good. Neither are flawless. We have some critiques. They both end up in somewhat of a similar place, but they take a different route to get there. We are genuinely torn. None of us are decided at this point. It's basically down to if you can talk us into it. So, Tempest, we'll go with you first. Is there a danger with yours that you are trying to please everyone and in the process pleasing no one?
No,
Why not?
because you can please everyone. It's a little bit of everything for everyone. I wanted it to be an encapsulation of their careers. You can't have the whole thing be just a bunch of callbacks. Hence why you would like to have matches with people like FTR, with the Young Bucks, having a cameo here or story beats from TNA there. I think it all kind of came together more or less how I wanted it to in that sense, where the story was current, but there was enough to please fans of all the different generations of the Hardys' career.
Do you not think there's a risk that if I'm a viewer watching at home, that I'm going to change the channel when I see Itchweed?
Well, that's why I would only have him on. Well, no, see, because that was on pay-per-view.
Okay.
You've already paid for it.
Really pay for it. Oof.
Might
Buy the
prevent
next
you from
pay-per-view.
buying the next one.
Yeah.
I'm only booking this story.
No,
I'm not
okay.
booking the next pay-per-view.
You're not leaving much for the next
Isn't
guy.
that where the triple threat? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The story potentially leans a bit more towards Jeff and his demons.
I definitely see that side of it. Rather than Matt needing the redemption arc that Jeff did, that Matt was more so the rock of the group, not as in Dwayne, but as in have him be a bit more steadfast.
I would say with the other story, the straight man essentially was Jeff.
Well, let's switch to Sullivan. So, do you think that you missed a trick maybe by not doing a bit more of the nostalgia?
Nobody has more knowledge in this office than this man over here. I can't fight nostalgia with nostalgia.
Says the man who planned a TLC match. No nostalgia present here at all.
No, that's a sound booking decision. That's an extremely good point. Jeff being the sort of the fun, exciting tearaway, let's say, and Matt being this more of a steadfast person who's somewhat overlooked by his brother, and seeing him take charge and using the metaphor of risky maneuvers in the ring being risky things that you do in life and that kind of thing. But yeah, I went fully down the story route rather than the callback route, because that's where you really keep people watching.
The reunion seemed very, very quick. At the same time as Edge's comeback?
Yeah. It was like the same night.
That's a lot to take in on one day.
Adam comes in. Happened at the same time might be a bit too overbooked, as they say in the business.
Ideally, actually, you probably would space them out. My feeling was, in a sense, actually, probably the better thing to do would be not have Edge come back at that moment. No, I'm just criticising my own piece.
Exactly.
But it's an excellent point. It's a good point.
Sullivan, yours is a TLC match.
Yeah.
Tempest, yours is not. Why not?
Because I care about the well-being of those involved.
But it's fantasy. It's fantasy booking.
You can have the Hardys wrestling evil versions of themselves, but let's not get ridiculous here.
Right. Okay.
I mean, that's
This
what
is where we
happened.
draw the line.
I have to draw a line at these guys with all their surgically repaired everythings falling off ladders and going through tables. That was a step too far.
You could argue that TLC matches, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors where it might not take the kind of toll on your body as you may think it does. Maybe the wiser decision would be to do the TLC match instead of a normal tag match with 4 wrestlers, technically 6 that are past their prime, where it could just be, you know, terrible.
I think you run that risk.
Put it politely.
I think you run that risk one way or the other. My thought on that is, in a regular match, I think you have less of a risk of it being bad. You still see a number of the people involved are still very capable in the ring. But if you put them all in a TLC match, the fans will only be forced to compare that match to ones that came before. I don't know if you can have a match like that without those moments and not have it be lesser than in people's minds.
Then is there any point of having a tag match at all then? Why don't you just do the Hardys versus, I don't know, the As Boys?
Yeah.
As Boys.
Your favourite
As
team,
boys,
Tempest,
your
isn't
favourite
it?
team.
I might as well just do that.
Believe this has come up with me on the desk.
That might be better.
Yes, Tempest. Why is the Hardy Boys retirement match not against the Ass Boys?
I really wanted to make it to the next round.
Yeah.
Hang on. If I come back to this, in traditional triple threat rules, it's no disqualification.
Don't
It
give
can
him the.
it can be a normal match, and then the odd bit of a chair or a
That's
table or a ladder could
that's
come
not what
in
Tempest
without
said.
it being the theme.
Look at him nodding.
You can't.
I mean, you're
Now
proving my
think
point right there.
Carefully about your answer. What did you have in mind? Which rules did you have in mind for this tag
Talk
match?
about longevity.
ones.
I heard him talk about.
Well, definitely those ones. In terms of ladders and tables and chairs and such being utilized in the match, I think you could have integration of those type of elements without it being the full focal point of the match.
All right, what we're going to do is what we do with everyone. We're going to give you up to a minute, ideally closer to 30 seconds, if you can, both of you, to give us your closing statements on why we should choose you over your opponent.
My booking over Sullivan's tells a story that looks at the entire careers of the Hardys, can bring in a bunch of the characters that have turned up throughout their past in a moment that audiences seem to like these days, where it's people coming together, whether it be the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys as former rivals, whether it be Shannon Moore or Sting and Darby Allin as former rivals turned allies or former partners. And it constructs a story that not only looks at where the Hardys are now with the work that they have done, but also looks at the path that they have taken getting there. And I think that that is a very cool story that, as good as Sullivan's is, I don't think it told that story, and I like mine better.
I think that I love Tempest's story. It's great, and I love nostalgia. But I will always err on the side, for my own personal taste at the very least, on the side of new, original storytelling stories that are, extended metaphors that are reflections on these characters' careers, on these people's careers, and showing that this is not just trot out the old favourites, but and not that Tempest is that, I will say. I don't want to be harsh on you here, but a brand new, original, essentially extended metaphor for who these people are.
Thank you both. If you would like to sit and quietly ponder your futures as bookers, while we decide which one of your names we're going to put on our pads here is going through to the semi-finals.
I think we can be proud, Tempest.
I think we can.
I said you could sit quiet. Sullivan. Three of us have considered, we've made our decision. This was very close, as I said. It was very close before you came in. It remained very close afterwards. To me, ultimately, it's come down to personal taste. Which things did I care about having called back to? And to what degree would I prefer to have a new storyline? And if I did want a new storyline, did I like the one you gave us? It's close. I've gone with Sullivan. Nina.
I went with a story that I felt not only incorporated the nostalgia, but also included other members of the current roster as well, tied up some loose ends quite nicely, and I went with Tempest.
Which means, Mr. Oku, the casting vote is yours.
Well, again, I was trying to put my wrestling fan hat on, as well as if I was, let's just say you were my writers. What's the story that would make the most sense to me? What's the best ending for these two wonderful generational talents? And although, again, I need to stress, I thought both stories were great. I need that stressed. Great job done by the both of you. I'm going with my heart. My heart says it's Tempest.
Oh, he looked right at me. He looked right at me. I was like, I'm f***ed, guys.
It is customary to hear from both the loser and the winner. We will go to the loser first. Sullivan.
Well, you know what? I think you made some excellent points about my story, and I actually really agreed with those points. I think also Tempest is a well-deserved victor. I watched this video and thoroughly enjoyed it, and so I have no bitterness here. I'm extremely happy with this decision because I think I agree. I think this is a very, very tough one, and I'm just very proud of what I've done. So thank you.
You should be.
What a gentleman.
I think
What
you
a
should.
gentleman.
I think you should be.
Tempest, you're going to the semi-finals. Any words in victory?
Yes, honestly, I had a lot of fun writing this one. Obviously, this was a story that is kind of very near and dear to me, having gotten into wrestling in the first place because of Jeff Hardy. So I'm glad that it carried me through, but I must say, as someone who has now seen Sullivan's more than once, I do think that you very much deserve to be in the second round as well. It's a shame how this is all shaken out, but I think an excellent job to you. I would like to thank all of our judges. I didn't even have to say how much I enjoy all of your work, which I do. But this was a very fun afternoon. The more you talked, Sullivan, the more I was like, well, he's talking me into it. I would vote for him too. But I look forward to the next one.
And in a shockingly wholesome, well-written and all-around pleasant battle, Tempest and his ending of Edge, Christian and the Dudleys deleted Sullivan and his ending of Edge, Christian and the Dudleys to secure his place in the semi-final. But that leaves only one first-round match, so tune in to see whether Pete Quinnell or Laurie Blake will join him as they book Logan Paul, WWE Champion, next week on Fantasy Booking Warfare.
I can't with this, man.
You got a lot something in your nose. Some little brown?
Yeah. Yeah. It smells delicious. Oh my god. Rose is up in here. I can't with you today.